Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Sweet Combat Season 1, Episode 24. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, let's start off with Queen's brother looking after Tion's siblings, and he's just kind of playing his game, and it's just like, they're doing their own thing, and he's like, cool, get me some more water, but Tion's little brother's like, nah sis, sit down. Like, we're not going to do anything. Like, ever since he got here, he's bossing us around. And they say, like, oh, you came in here immediately. You were like, oh, give me some grapes. Give me oranges. Give me water. Fan me. Give me a massage. And he's like, none of that happened. They're like, yeah, but you pretty much haven't been playing with us. So, yeah. I mean, what if... what game should we play? They list some of them. They were like, how about Slapjack? And he was like, Slapjack? He's like, no, absolutely not. Which I'm like, I feel so bad for him. He will never play Slapjack again because Queen, like instilled so much fear in him and traumatized him because she, like, kept him up. She even threatened him in the previous episode, like, hey, if you don't keep your mouth shut, we're going to play Slapjack all night. And he's like, no, please don't put me in that situation again. Because she was so happy about learning how to play it. And she was, especially because she kept losing against everybody. So being able to have that opportunity to play it again and have so much fun with her brother and come out on top because she's very competitive. It's just, but like all that was sweet and funny. But now it's just traumatized him. So he doesn't want to play Slapjack again. It's like, right, I guess we'll just have to let Queen know how much, like, you didn't really do your job of looking after us. Which he was like, whoa, don't let my sister know anything. He's like, fine. So he got them, like, KFC got them burgers, had a whole bunch of, like, balloon animals. I don't know if they were, like, I guess he made them himself. And so they got to have fun together. And he kind of went back to playing this game. But it's a little bit like that because I brought it up last episode. Queen's brother has a really good relationship with Tien's siblings. Jaegu's siblings in the webtoon, and we get a little bit of that this episode too. But I think as time goes on, I'm curious if this all we get of that dynamic, or will we see it kind of grow like it does in the webtoon? It's gonna be interesting to see. But at the same time, it's all going down. Queen and Tien are enjoying their date. It's super adorable, riding a tandem bike together. Being able to just kind of explore and have fun, and then they get to the beach, and she, like, gave him that IQ question. He was like, actually, I think you're missing one. He's like, what if actually the two people while walking are lovers? And she's like, oh, so what's the answer? He's like, I don't know. And then they stand up and he holds her, and I was like, that's it, because I was about to say we all know the correct response in this moment, and he did it. I was like, yeah, I was like, you smooth SOB. I was like, that's good. It's actually really cute. I mean, it's also not the first time Fongyu's been in his arms, so it's kind of like, yeah. He could have easily teased her about, okay, this last time you were in my arms is because you were jumping up trying to get away from a cockroach. But yeah, it was like, it's just like, you're just like, oh my god, you too, you're so adorable. And obviously both siblings had a lot of fun until they came back, and it turns out I don't know, because he didn't bring up, like, what he did say, like, he was going to, like, chew out Zhao for something. I don't know if he knew what they were doing today in particular. He probably believed them when they said they were doing this and that. They probably covered their bases enough, but he knew about Queen stopping by Macau on her trip, like her delayed trip to Dubai. It's like, it didn't interfere. Like, she was only there for an amount of time to hang. I mean, obviously she didn't hang out with everyone. She just hung out with Tien, but it didn't interfere with anything. But obviously her grandfather's unhappy with her decisions, because he's like, because at the end of the day, your love life is not yours to decide, because you're from this prominent family, so you sadly don't get that choice. And obviously for, like, Queen is like, I've done everything else you've asked me to. I've done everything you wanted to. I bent my life to fit what you want it to be. I will not let you interfere with my love life. You get to tell me who I get to have feelings for. It's like, that's not how this works. And he obviously tries to, like, tell her, like, the reality of it. Tien's from a poor family, even suggesting 90% of the people you come across are always going to want something from you, which is complete and utter BS, because her, even before being in a relationship right now, like, Tien's never really wanted anything from her. In fact, they were not on good terms, so that's the situation. So, but obviously her grandfather doesn't know their entire history and stuff like that. He actually looked down upon her because of money and stuff, because he thought all she had, because Queen once again, like, not really able to kind of like let people see that real side of her. Like, like Yanan is one of the few people who saw that side of herself until Tian and like Hao got them like know her more too. So, but it's a situation of like he kind of resented her because he thought like she thought money could resolve everything, so that bothered him. So it's like her money was actually more of a detriment than anything. So, but it's like, yeah, because like, and once again, that showed you his cynical view on things, that he's like, right, because he's probably had so many people in his own personal life come into his life, and because we don't know about Queen's mom and dad. I'd assume, I mean, well, I don't want to assume because I actually don't know which one of her parents is like his child. Is her mom his child, or is her dad his child? You never really get into that. Because part of me wondering, like, did you have the same, like, what was like either like what was Queen's dad's circumstances or mom's circumstances? Like, were they both from prominent? Like, it's probably a thing of what he's trying to do to Queen, he probably did to his child, whether it was Queen's mom or Queen's dad. Like, he probably set that up too. So that probably, like, if you were to probably ask, it's like did they have the exact same like standing socially? And this probably did, because he probably orchestrated that for the purpose of all that. But like I said, it's just, I think, like I said, there is, like, I understand to some small degree of you're trying to protect your daughter, but it's also your granddaughter, but it's also you have such an old-fashioned view on things, because he's like, I mean, but he's also being extremely realistic about, I mean, once again, it's like he has a cynicism of just because he just assumes people are going to want you for your money and what you can do. But Fong Yu had to be like, no. In fact, I kind of pursued Tien before he pursued me, which obviously he calls her shameful for that. Like, really? Like, how dare you do that? But it's like, right, let's say Tien doesn't have ulterior motives. At the end of the day, you are coming from two different worlds, and those problems that might not seem like an issue now will compile and become an issue later on. Once again, there is realism in that, and it's not like Tien isn't completely aware of that. That's been something he's constantly had to deal with, that fear. The reason where he is right now is because he won't let that fear get in the way of him caring about the person he cares about. He said it time and time again. He knows they're from different worlds, but then from being different worlds doesn't mean they haven't found common ground and connected. You know, that connection is more important than the fact is that you're from two different worlds. That, you know, once again, I get the realism of it as well, but her grandfather's just completely removing the emotional angle to it. And just for Fong Yu, it's like, I won't give up on like what because she's like, just break up with him. It's like her grandfather's point of view, and she leaves. In fact, she runs away from home, which happens in the webtoon as well. It was, I can't remember the exact circumstances. I don't think it was her having to, was it her having to quit the school? I don't remember. Because, like, once again, like, in the webtoon, it wasn't even like her and Jaegu are together thing, but it's just like, I think it was like, it might have been just like they wanted her to drop out because of like her commitment to the like company, similar to the live action, but I don't remember the exact, but I do remember her running away from home, and I think that was directly correlated with Jaegu. I think that might have been like some Dao Dao and Jaegu related reason why she ran away from home. I can't remember the exact same reason why, but yeah, she moved in with like Moon Young and like was staying with her and her dad, which her dad was perfectly fine with because it's like they got some high class meals because of it. But yeah, like Fong Yu is running away because she wants to prove a point to her grandfather. Like, right, I will take my life and my fate into my own hands. I will get to determine my life and who I get to be with. Like, no one else is gonna make those decisions for me. So she's going through her own crisis while Yanan's going through hers because she's deleting all these messages from Guanyan because she's like, right, well, this one isn't true anymore, because he was like, right, one of the things I like about you is like you don't cry so easily. But she's like, yes, my heart is fragile. Like every girl cries about anything. Like any girl's capable of crying, but it's like you wouldn't think that of, because Yanan is so tough. But I mean, once again, everyone's human. They're vulnerable. People are going to cry, and once again, it's just heartbreaking seeing her so heartbroken. So I love that dream she had of Yanan, and it's like, Guanyan, and being like, yeah, like, oh, you want me to forgive you and stop deleting your messages? Let me punch you as much as I want to. And she ducks down and like gives him the rapid punch, and then he's kind of like got the foam coming from his mouth. I was was about to say, because I was like, well, because it's a TV-14 show, and I don't know what China's situation is with blood. I don't know, because like some Asian countries are like weird about blood, so I don't know, because I'm like, there hasn't been like because like in the show they haven't done any. You see wounds, but you never see like, oh, massive amounts of like, oh, you're bleeding or anything like that. Like I said, like Jagu's fight with the bully in the webtoon, that got bloody, but obviously they didn't really go as bloody. Like I said, I don't know if that's just to keep the TV-14 rating, or is it just because maybe China's like weird about like blood in TV shows and movies. Once again, maybe that's just me. I don't know. I don't know if that's why they did that. Instead of doing blood, they just like did it like foam or something, like he was poison. But he's like, wipes it away, and he's like, are we good now? You're not going to delete my message? She's like, I was just going to think about it, huh? And she turns around and he's going, I was like, wait, is this not a dream? Are you awake and you're just tripping balls? It's like, no, it's a dream. And she wakes up and she's just like frustrated about everything. And now she all has to deal with Queen, which Queen finally drops it, which is so interesting because she's the last one in the group to find out, because the first one in the group to find out was Hao, and then Zhao Mi, and now Yanan. It's like, I'm your best friend, and you wait till now, till you had to run away from home to tell me that you and Tian are a thing. But she's like, be quiet. You want your dad to know? She's like, you're worried about my dad knowing when your grandfather knows? You should have done a better job of making sure he didn't know, because you know how old-fashioned he is. So like, wow. And it's like, you're really going through it. And it's like, so understandable. Was like, which Yanan's like, I totally understand why you ran away considering those circumstances. So I also love that she does have her chef with her, but she's like, no, that's my brother. He's like worried about me. So, because like they're also doing like, it's like, wait, is this how you get ready in the morning? She's like, yeah. She's stretching and she's kind of like, doing her face, and Yanan decides to copy her and is like brushing her teeth and stretching too. I was like, wow, both of those ladies are like extremely I mean, once again, it makes sense with the context of the characters and just this series and his universe, but it's still like, man, you are extremely flexible, both of you. But yeah, like, I love that it comes up again where, once again, that wrinkle, it's sneaking in little by little, but like, Yanan's dad is remembering Tian, being like, yeah, Tian. It's like, yeah, and he had a question, but he started choking on some of the food, and by the time they performed a Heimlich maneuver on him and he came back to his senses, he doesn't remember what the question was anymore. So I was like, I love, you keep teasing it, because like I said, that will be a pretty big hurdle, especially because they won't have the context of what Zhao Mi found out last episode about that kind of being an insurance fraud scam. So they're not going to have that context, and that's going to cause an issue, because I think for Tian, it's going to be the guilt of, my dad killed a person that was so important to her, so she's not going to be able to look at me without thinking about that. And then also, like, for Fong Yu, it's going to be the thing of, you're the son of the guy that took the person away that was the most important. Like, it will, like, the question then becomes like, who will find out first? Will Tian find out first, and that's why he's going to eventually break things off with Fong Yu, because he feels too guilty, and that's going to cause massive issues later on, or what? It's going to be interesting to see. Or will someone try to use that against him, like her grandfather or Shi Wei? Like, will they try to utilize that against him? I don't know. I'm surprised we haven't seen Shi Wei pop up. I mean, granted, it's only been like an episode or two, so still could pop up in the future, but I'm so curious to see what happens on that front. Will, like, 2 episodes ago be the last time we saw him, now that he set that all in motion? Or will he try and, because that won't get, I mean, it'll get him with, if he can mess things up between Tian and Fong Yu, it will work in his favor, because it'll just be her grandfather pushing it more and more. So, I was about to say, like, that doesn't really help you, because Fong Yu doesn't like you. So, either way, you have her going shopping later on, and she's like, right, I'm going to prove my grandfather wrong, and she decides to make chow mein for, Tian and his siblings. Sadly, she didn't buy enough, and so there was only enough for 3 people instead of 4. But Tian did, like, give her some of his food, which was really sweet. And also at school, I believe, well, first and foremost, her grandfather is really pushing. He already sent out a message to her school, like, yeah, she's pulling out, even though she doesn't want to. And now the president of the school is in an awkward place, because it's like, right, I'm his like, he's my elder. I shouldn't once again, like, especially like in any Asian country, like, obviously the hierarchy of age is important. So it's like, he's my elder. I really shouldn't be interfering in a matter that is family based, and I'm not really involved. So like, he's kind of, there's not so much he can do, but Feng Yu's like, no, I will resolve it myself. And then she proceeded to, think it's like, oh, me and Tian, we'll do stuff that normal couples do. But she's like, what do normal couples do? So she's like Googling it, and or at least looking it up, because I'm about to say, I'm like, is Google even? Because I know certain things are blocked in other countries. So I'm like, is Google as much of a thing in China? Because obviously, like, they have their own. What's that? Is it WeChat? Because like WeChat's like the main like everything app in. I don't know if it's Asia as a whole, or is that specifically China. I associate it with China, but that might just be all Asia. WeChat's like a massive thing. That's why I'm like, that's because I'm like, I don't know if Google has a massive presence in China specifically. Maybe they do, and I'm just thinking of something else. Either way, she looks it up online. I mean, which some of the things that were listed is like, oh, hold hands, hug, and feed each other food or whatever. It's like, well, they've kind of done all that, but I love that she's fantasizing. Like, oh, one of them was push him against the wall, and she does it to Tien in like her fantasy, but she's like, no, this is romance, not wrestling. Besides, it should be Tien doing it to me, and her getting like giggling to herself. I'm like, once again, it just showcases like the actress who plays the actress who plays Queen is just so, she plays that so adorably. And then she's just like fantasizing about these different scenarios and just like giggling to herself, being so happy. But so when they eventually eat lunch later on, she's looking at the magazine and it's got a couple like where the lady's feeding the guy, and she's kind of like, okay, she's positioning the magazine so that Tien can see, and she's like, so, what do you think about this? And he reads the Rome's page and he's like, something about agriculture? Yeah, I don't really know much about that. He's like, why were you asking? She's like, never mind. And so she was so disappointed in herself, she drops her chopsticks and she feels so stupid. But Tien sees the other page and realizes what she wants, so he feeds her some celery. He's like, well, you don't like celery? She's like, I like it, and eats it. And other people nearby are watching, and when Tien walks away to get her more chopsticks, they're like, oh my god, Tien and Feng Yu are dating? And now rumors are spreading like wildfire. It's like, oh yeah, like Feng Yu kind of forced Tien to date her because of some agricultural thing. And then Hao and Zhao Mi are like, what kind of universe did we walk into? What utopia did we walk into? Like, we weren't going that long. And I even love the president and the director are talking about some of the rumors too. It's like, no, it's pretty clear that regardless of these rumors, and they are in fact dating. But then the president puts it together. It's like, so this is why her grandfather is making such a big deal about her, like trying to remove her from the school. It's like, yeah. So some fascinating developments on that front. Kind of pivoting a little bit. We did found out something really interesting. Obviously, Yi Chen, things haven't worked out in his favor. He wasn't chosen as the vice captain as he thought he was. I mean, once again, him and some other people from the club got into it because they were like, yo, you're not going to become vice captain. You lost to Tien, bro. What are you talking about? You're not that good. You know? And even Guanyan said, like, if he kept it up, he would be good. But he's been so busy trying to be cool and everything, rather than putting the effort forward. The effort like Tian did, he's been slacking off. You know, you run your mouth all this stuff to Guanyan and stuff, and he thought like, oh yeah, the fix is in. I'm obviously the obvious choice for vice captain. And when like Zhao Feng is like, right, I support you as a friend, but I can't support, like, I'm not going to let my personal relationships like with you like interfere with the fact is you are not qualified for the job. She's like, your skills, like, how much have they deteriorated since the tournament? The fact is, what you haven't even been putting forth any effort to train. All you've been doing is forming cliques. And the fact is, like, if I put you in that position just because you had my back when I was positioned to take over, you know, it's like, right, when the club was kind of divided the way it was, I backed you. I brought so many people along with you. You should kind of, like, you kind of owe me. But it's like, yeah, be discourteous to anyone else in this club. Those who are actually training, those who are better than you. And obviously he wants to take all this out on, like, Tian's being like, yo, it's all his fault. And then when Tian was running by on his bike, he hides. And he's like, wait, why am I hiding from him? That situation happens earlier in the webtoon. if I remember correctly, him like ducking away from Tien. I do believe that happens. Like I believe that's pre-tournament. Something like that happened, and I can't fully remember. I believe that's the case. Like I said, they have he's very rarely in the webtoon post the tournament. At least to my recollection. Not unless stuff is getting a little blurry for me. But I assumed he was going to chase after Tien, who's at the car wash, and lo and behold, who stops by Feng Yu's grandfather, who's asking him like, "Hey, like, I'll give you whatever you want. I know you're struggling. Both your parents passed away." Once again, I think it's interesting that they phrase it like that, because I brought that up in a previous, earlier in the season, that it's kind of phrased like, no, maybe not even earlier in the season, but a little while back, it's phrased like both of his parents are dead, even though it's like only his dad died. His mom left. So we never, like, I don't, that's what, at the time I remember saying in a previous review, being like, I'm curious, is his mom leaving considered the same thing as death, or just most people are just like, most people don't know his circumstance enough just to know he doesn't have his mom, she must be dead, not knowing she kind of bailed on them before their dad died. So either, once again, I think that phrasing, not unless it's a translation thing, but like that, it feels too specific of phrasing, which I think is interesting. Like I said, that might just be a misconception on everyone's part. Like, she's not in your life, so she must have died, not knowing, like I said, she might have bailed on him. But it's like, yeah, I'll give you anything you want. I know you're doing everything you can to take care of you and your siblings. I'll give you whatever you want as long as you leave Feng Yu. But for him, it's like, I appreciate your concern, but I will leave Feng Yu the moment she tells me to leave. But he won't leave for anyone else. I'm like, good on you. You know, Tien, to stand your ground. It's like, I care for her, and until she says she wants this to be done, I'm not going to leave her. And the sad thing is, it's probably not even going to be a situation of Feng Yu wanting to leave him. It's probably going to be Tien, like, having to make a choice because he thinks it's best for her, for whatever the circumstances may be. Like I said, the thing about his dad and her uncle, that truth coming out, and he wants to spare her, like, maybe that's what that is. But I do believe he's probably going to break her heart just for the purposes of, I do have to save you from, I don't want to drag you down. That's what I can see. We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But this is the calm before the storm. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.